Hello everyone. The next thing you'll be asked to do in this class is write paper 3, a critical analysis paper. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why would I have to write this paper, this critical analysis paper, on just one source? What's the practicality of that in real life? Well, it happens quite often. Let me give you what would happen from the perspective of a research team. If you happen to be working on a team, in a team with several people working on a project, each of you is going to come to the table with just maybe a collective thesis statement, but you need a starting point where to begin. So then each of you kind of divides out maybe sources or potential sources to read them and then to give annotations to them in your annotated bibliography form. But then after that, you find some commonalities. You start to find that maybe one source is mentioned over and over. When that happens, that source is actually called a foundational source. It's very critical to a topic. When one writer or one piece becomes an expert, those are foundational sources which people refer to and should know. For instance, in the field of education, an author by the name of Tinto has written a lot on how students learn best and the quality of education that can happen when we format our classrooms in certain ways. Therefore, this author named Tinto happens to be one of the most respected authors in education because his research was done so well. So when you're at the table then with your research team and you see these people being referenced over and over and these works being referenced, you start to get a sense that they're foundational and they should be included in your paper. But it's not always straightforward what is the most foundational piece for your specific thesis. And in research teams, there's some argument about that. Which piece should we include in our papers? Which should we not include? Because you have an ethical obligation to be fair to the opposing viewpoint. You have an obligation to your reader to introduce foundational works, but not all of them, just the most important ones pertaining to your thesis. And then you have an obligation to your reader to also give the most current works that are themselves well done and pertain to your thesis as well. So what you would do then is a critical analysis of sources to decide which foundational piece you're going to use. And that's what you're going to do in this paper. We all start every paper, and you've been practicing this now. This is your second paper practicing how to do an introduction. They're the most important pieces of any work that you will do because people decide whether or not they're going to read your work based on the introduction. Usually, we want to know if your thesis statement is similar to whatever research we're doing in order to decide if we're going to continue. That's why I really, really advise putting thesis statements right at the top.